Hello, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome to the city of Lackawanna as we are here at the new Renaissance Commerce Park to make a number of very important announcements and, of course, a groundbreaking on Uniland's new building that will be located right where we're standing here today. This is, in some ways, a highlight of all the work that's been put in by many individuals since 2012. The area that we're standing on, of course, is part of the old Bethlehem Steel site. When I became county executive, one of the goals of my administration, as well as others, was to turn the site from what it once was, which was an abandoned wasteland for nearly 4 decades, into productive economic use. I remember being told by some people back then that that project was too big to take on, that it just never was going to happen. But a lot of people rolled up their sleeves, and here we are today, making another big announcement as we see other development that has gone on at the site that I'll talk about in the past few years. This project was not too big to take on, but trust me, it was a big project to take on. So I want to thank everyone who's here today, and we'll be talking a lot about many of these individuals, but also talk about some of the new projects related to this site that have been moving along in the last few months, including during the pandemic. The pandemic may have slowed us down as a community, but didn't stop us. Didn't stop the Uniland project from going forward, and it did not stop a lot of the other projects that are related to the Renaissance Commerce Park, as well as some of the other portions of this old Bethlehem Steel site from moving forward. Since 2017, Erie County, the Industrial Land Development Corporation, which is part of the ECIDA, New York State, the U.S. Economic Development Administration, National Grid, and National Fuel have spent $25.5 million to redevelop this site into the Renaissance Commerce Park. And there are plans to spend another $8.8 million in additional work at this site, including the construction of a new road, sort of where by those trees are, right in front of them. I really want to thank a lot of folks associated with those donations, but particularly our friends in New York State government, including Governor Kathy Hochul. Governor Hochul could not be here today, but as someone who was born in Lackawanna and raised initially in Lackawanna and of course lived in Hamburg for most of her life, she is very, very happy, I know, having spoken to her, that this project continues to move. So I want to thank our friends in the governor's office, including one of the regional representatives, Adam Sassone, for Governor Hochul, who's here today. Please extend our deep thanks to Governor Hochul. Now, I got some really good news that most people don't know about. The county, through the Industrial Land Development Association, in partnership with ECIDA, has purchased another 80 acres of the property immediately to the south of Dona Street. So that area right over there. We've purchased 80 acres for Tecumseh Redevelopment, which was taken over by Cleveland Cliffs, an organization that bought the Tecumseh Redevelopment Organization. And we've already closed on phase 1, which is approximately 32 acres of it. We are already starting to market the 32 acres that we've closed on, and we will soon there be after marketing the remainder of the 80 acres that we've acquired. Thank you. I specifically want to thank the ECIDA board and ILDC board, as well as the president and CEO of the ECIDA, John Capolino, who you'll hear from shortly. All the staff at the ECIDA and ILDC, because they're doing a lot of the heavy lifting, including having come out to this site during a lot of the work that was necessary, not only for what we're doing here with the sale of the property and the groundbreaking for Uniland, but the acquisition of the property there and the other parcels that you see and we'll be talking about. So I also want to thank all the staff at the ECIDA as well as the ILDC. My partner in Erie County government, our Deputy County Executive, Maria White, and Andy Federick from the Economic Development Wing of Erie County, who works with Maria, because they've worked tirelessly on this project, and I thank them. It's nice to have good people in place, because when I spent almost the vast majority of my time for a full year focused on COVID, I could turn over projects like this to Deputy County Executive White and her team to move it through. So thank you, Deputy County Executive. Thank you. To the ILDC board members, we have one of them here, my partner in Erie County government, Chairwoman April Baskin. I want to thank them for their continued support of the investment that we are making at the Renaissance Commerce Park. Thank you, Chairwoman. And to our friends at Harris Beach, Bob Murray and Melanie Morato have been instrumentally involved in representing the ILDC during this process. Thank you for that, because I know it was a tremendous amount of effort. To Keith Nagel from the Tecumseh Redevelopment Corp., Paul Worthman from Benchmark Turnkey. They couldn't be here today, but they really wanted to see this project go forth with regards to the new acquisition just like this. They were dealing with some difficult times too, including the acquisition of Tecumseh by Cleveland Cliffs, but they played a key role in making this happen. Thank you to those as well. And especially also our friends with Invest Buffalo Niagara, who played a key role in marketing this site, so that I know going forward, whether it's this site here or the site across there, that we will soon see this full Renaissance Commerce Park humming with activity and new economic development activity for the site. So thank you to Tom Kucharski and his team, and I know Tom's here as well. Now, one of the first projects to be completed on the old Bethlehem Steel site is not actually part of the Renaissance Commerce Park, but I do want to thank our friends with Welded Tube of the U.S., which actually is a Canadian-based corporation, which moved its first major American facility here on 40 acres, a $40 million investment at the end of Dona Street. And that showed that we could get these projects done. And it helped get done the project that you see right behind me, which of course is our friends from TMP, otherwise known as TRS Packaging. We're joined by their president, Bob Laughlin, and Kirk Dorn, vice president, and I'm proud to announce on behalf of them that their 280,000 square foot manufacturing facility is completely opened for business, and they are proud to be here at this site in the city of Lackawanna. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Kirk, for continuing to invest in our community. For those of you who don't know the story, they make the Magic Clean, the Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, and they were getting pressure from one of their prime vendor to move out of this area, to move not outside this area, to move out of Western New York, New York State, and to move into the Midwest, and they stuck here. And I really want to thank them for that, because this is a tremendous new addition to Lackawanna and all the jobs that have been created to it. So thank you very much. We also have our friends from Sucro Sourcing here, not part of the Renaissance Commerce Park, but you see all those brick buildings that are the former Bethlehem Steel Complex. And Sucro Sourcing is turning that into a sugar refining facility. And I want to thank them. In my wildest dreams, I never thought you would find a reuse for those buildings. I figured eventually they'd have to come down. So to our friends with Sucro, thank you for your investment in this community. Now, there's other things that we've done at this site recently, including the completion of the Dona Street extension. This is the first public road on the site of the old Bethlehem Steel Complex. There were no public roads. There were private roads. It was so private, Bethlehem Steel had its own fire company to handle if there were any emergencies on the site. So when we were developing it, we decided, well, if we're going to bring business here, we got to get a way for them to get their goods and services to the site. So we needed to build a road. So I'm very thankful that we were able to, working with lots of folks, including our Erie County Department of Public Works, Department of Environment and Planning, the New York State Department of Transportation, the South Buffalo Railroad, because we had to move a rail line from the front to the back, which now has a crossing over Dona Street, the Erie County Legislature for funding, as well as the City of Lackawanna for making Dona Street a reality on the extension on this side here. And as I said, it's just the beginning. We are soon going to have another road coming off of Dona Street going through the site that can actually provide support for this building that will be here for Uniland and other buildings in the future. So thank you to all our partners that made it a reality. Now, one of the things we wanted to do is create access to this site for the public. We've heard from the public. They want to have access to the site, including access to Smokes Creek. First, we put the bike path on the front of the site. People are like, well, it just ends there. What are you going to do with it? We now have approved the Phase 2 master plan of the Shoreline Trail, which calls for the extension of the bike path, not just from Dona Street, but to Woodlawn Beach. We have a complete plan which runs down Woodlawn Beach, through the property, along Smokes Creek, and then down to Woodlawn Beach. So it'll be a full extension of the Shoreline Trail. I have so many people I want to thank on that. Of course, our partners in Erie County government, the city of Lackawanna, the town of Hamburg, New York State for the Buffalo Build funds to pay for the master plan and to help with the extension of the Shoreline Trail. And of course, Tecumseh. They've actually donated the land for the extension of the bike path to go through here to Woodlawn Beach. So thank you to all, especially Tecumseh, for donating the land. This is like one of those late night infomercials. We're not done yet. There's more. And last but not least is the completion of the master plan for the road work and development of this site, which is more than road work, it's also the rest of the infrastructure. So I want to thank our friends with ECIDA, John Capolino and his working group, our friends from the Department of Environment and Planning, represented by Commissioner Dan Castle and his team here today, our consultant AECom, of course, the city of Lackawanna and its great team, Ed Hummel and the EDA, as well as National Grid and National Fuel for their incredible efforts to make the master plan work associated with this site a reality. When we said this was too big a project to take on, it was a big project, not too big to take on, but this is just an example of many of the things that we had to do to take what was this abandoned location. And if you're old enough to remember it like I did, my father worked here, if you're old enough to remember, where we are standing was not vacant land for decades. This was formerly bar mills and strip mills and all kinds of other ancillary buildings associated with the Bethlehem Steel site. There's a lot of folks that thought it would never get done. It has gotten done. And right now, you are seeing still the beginning. In some ways, it's the end of the beginning, but it's not the end, because I know the best is yet to come because of the great team that we have working together and what is going to be seen at the site in the next few years, which is future development, more jobs for our region, and continued growth for all, the city of Buffalo and the county of Erie. And I want to thank each and every one of you who made this a reality. It's my pleasure to introduce at this time the president and CEO of the ECIDA, someone who's played a very instrumental role since I first broached this subject when I became elected as county executive, and in some ways even before that, John Capolino.
Thank you, County Executive. What a great day. As President and CEO of the Industrial Land Development Corporation, I'm very proud to be part of this important occasion. You cannot come to this site and not feel the history. It's palpable. The men and women who worked, some died here, made the steel that built our country, won a world war. Today we understand the lessons of what was, but here today at Renaissance Commerce Park we celebrate what is and what will be. We did not get here at this moment without a lot of support. First off, I want to thank the county executive who grew up here in the shadows of this place for his vision, support, and determination in the redevelopment of this site. Renaissance Commerce Park has a lot of partners, but it all started with his vision. So thank you, Mark. Also, congratulations to Uniland Development for taking a chance and building a spec building. Here, joining your new neighbors, TMP Technologies, Sucrose Sourcing, and Welded Tube, as the next business to locate here at Renaissance Commerce Park. It's a special day for our board members and staff of the ILDC and the ECIDA, seeing the fruits of years of labor. Without their help, we would not be here today. Some of our partners have provided funding. Mark mentioned a number of them: Empire State Development, DOT, US EDA, Erie County, National Grid, National Fuel. I do want to take a second and recognize our partners from DEC who's worked hand in hand with us on the property as we started to develop. As Mark said, this is a very complicated piece of property, but we've always had such great working relationships with our partners to make everything happen. Also partnering with the city of Lackawanna, our mayor Iafallo, who couldn't be here today, our city officials, state representatives, input on the master plan from the residents of Lackawanna. The current landowner, Tecumseh Redevelopment, who remediated the land and sold us the land so we could be here today. I wanted to give a special shout out to the mayor who couldn't be here and her team. Rich Stanton, I know, is here, Chuck, and I know we're here from the council president, but really a working relationship with the local community is a partnership that we all have to advance the goals of this site, along with the county and state and all the representatives. We've had the luxury and continue to have the luxury of so many supporters. I don't want to thank everyone because I know I'm going to leave somebody out, but I did want to just extend a couple of shout outs to some folks, my staff, people that are here. I know I see Phil and Sean and Grant and Robbie who worked on the press event. I'm probably missing somebody. I apologize. Lori. Also, as the county executive mentioned, our legal team. I also wanted to make a special recognition for our working group. So most of you here wouldn't think of this, but we meet every 2 weeks and we spend an hour, hour and a half. I would often joke, Maria, that we spend more time together than we do anybody else in our offices talking about how we can move this site forward. Again, our board of directors, Tom's group in West Buffalo Niagara is there at all of our working group meetings. The folks from the county executive team as well. Finally, I want to thank the community of Lackawanna, their citizens for the support of this project and their active input as we've moved through the many phases of development. We're all here to serve them, but also because of them, we're here today, we're able to celebrate the 8 Donut Street project. But we're also breaking ground not only on that project, but a bright future for Lackawanna and for Western New York. So I thank everyone for being here and all your continued support. It's a wonderful group to work with. And with that, the county executive.
Thank you, John. So we've had many governmental partners, as we know, with regards to New York State. But of course, since the beginning, the city of Lackawanna has been intimately involved in the process to get us here today. As noted, the mayor could not be here, and I do want to specifically thank Mayor Annette Iafallo for her support of the projects that we're doing here, continuing with the tradition of Mayor Jeffrey Szymanski, who's now the Workforce Investment Board. So for any of the employers who are looking for people to get to work, you need to talk to the former mayor because he runs the Workforce Investment Board. But I want to thank all our partners in Lackawanna for their tremendous work. And it's our pleasure, even though we could not have the mayor here today, to have the council president, Fred Morano, speak on behalf of the city. So, Mr. President.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the city of Lackawanna. Mayor Iafallo was unable to join us today due to a long-standing out-of-town commitment this week. She extends her best wishes to everyone. Today represents another exciting chapter in the redevelopment story being written here at the former Bethlehem Steel plant site. Lackawanna is proud to be working alongside our partners at all government levels to restore economic vibrancy to this historic industrial site, which for decades was the foundation of our city's economy and identity. Lackawanna offers its heartfelt thanks to Governor Hochul and Lieutenant Governor Benjamin for continuing the state's strong and vital commitment of resources and support to this important project. And we wish them well in their new roles representing the people of New York State. We also extend our gratitude to Erie County Executive Polenkars and to ECIDA President and CEO Capolino for being great stewards of this transformational project and the creation of Renaissance Commerce Park, which will help Lackawanna and Erie County thrive for decades to come. Last but certainly not least, we welcome Michael Montante and the Uniland team to Lackawanna and thank them for the tremendous investment they're making in Renaissance Commerce Park. Under Mayor Iafallo's leadership and supported by our City Council, Lackawanna is experiencing a development rebirth. Uniland's commitment to building this new state-of-the-art distribution and advanced manufacturing facility is another significant step forward in our collective efforts to bring more businesses and more jobs to Lackawanna and Erie County. Congratulations to all for the milestones we are celebrating here today. We look forward to continuing our work together to make Renaissance Commerce Park in Lackawanna, New York, a premier commerce destination. Thank you all for being here. Mr. County Executive.
Thank you, Fred. Now, we weren't here just to make announcements associated with what we're going to do in the future and what we've done in the past. We're here to talk about the present. And that, of course, is the great new 8 Donut Street project that Uniland Development is doing here. A $14 million plus investment by Uniland on this site to create a 150,000 square foot facility right where we are standing. And that's why I am so pleased to have a partner who works very hard to create economic development all across our community like Uniland Development. They have worked across various spectrums on a number of projects that we've done through the years across Erie County, whether it's the North Towns, the City of Buffalo, the South Towns, because our community can only grow if all of it is strong. So I want to thank Uniland Development for investing in this site, for putting this major footprint in the city of Lackawanna, and knowing that, as I said, this is not the end. This is the beginning, this is the end of the beginning, and there's so much more to come, especially when the doors on this new building open. So thank you to Uniland, Mr. Carl Montante, and of course, represented by Michael Montante here today for the great work that they're doing. So Michael, thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming. Just wanted to start out with, on behalf of Uniland Development Company and our team, many of which are here, and that includes our architects and engineers on the project. We are a proud partner of Erie County and the ILDC and New York State and of course the city of Lackawanna. And I think we ought to just recognize Mark Poloncarz one more time, because it was his vision that really started the momentum on this project. So thanks again, Mark. You know, 8 Donut, what 8 Donut is doing, it's part of a solution. We have a significant problem in the business community today, and that is the lack of Class A industrial space. Tom Kucharski, who is here, his group, Invest Buffalo Niagara, as early as 2019, commissioned a study. And that study looked at our region and compared it against our peers, similar cities. And what that study showed is that our region is significantly below the inventory that is required compared to our peer cities. And that's not good, because that really limits new companies and existing companies coming in and expanding in Western New York. So 8 Donut is part of that solution. Now that study was done pre-pandemic. That was in 2019, and there was a lot of demand. Take a look at our new world today, post-pandemic, post-COVID. And what we're seeing is even a greater demand for this type of space. So Uniland is a proud partner of the ILDC, and we look forward to developing 8 Donut, in addition to developing additional sites here at Renaissance Commerce Park. So with that, these shovels that you see over here today are ready to dig up a solution to the challenge that I just expressed. So with that, I'd like to anyone who has a shovel to head over there and we'll get digging.
I don't know if I'm digging it though.
Just bring eyes here. Eyes here. Wait for cameras. Hang on 1 second.